Hello, welcome to another edition of the Pace Report. I'm Brian Pace. As you know, January, at the beginning of the year here in New York City, there are lots of music showcases as well as many jazz festivals, including one festival I think everyone should really pay attention to is the second New York City Jazz Piano Festival, which took place a whole week with jazz piano luminaries ranging from the great George Cables to David Hazeltine to up-and-coming pianists like Miki Yamanaka, as well as one of the musicians who I'm going to profile here on the Pace Report, Rachel Z. Rachel has a brand new record which is coming out this March, and this is the first record she's recorded in well over a decade. And it features tonight on bass Jonathan Toscano and her husband, the legendary drummer Omar Hakim. Now tonight, you're going to witness and see highlights of her performing this new music, and I had a chance to sit down to talk with Rachel about why it took so long to record this record, as well as some very important influences on her piano style as well as jazz music. So sit back, relax, and enjoy highlights of new music performed by Rachel Z performing live at this year's second New York City Jazz Piano Festival. Live at Clava House here on the Pace Report here in New York City. First and foremost, I want to congratulate you on this brand new record. I was talking to Omar before the set. This is the first record you've recorded under your own name and trio for about 10 years?
Mm-hmm.
What took so long?
Well, oops.
That's okay.
The old lean on the piano. Basically, in 2010, we did the Trio of Oz, and I didn't know it was important to do a record under my own name, or they wouldn't give us the same amount of knowledge that it was already our trio. So that's all it was. We did one in 2010, but then we did, actually though, that is a while ago. So what happened was we were touring so much that we really didn't have time. And then we did Ozmosys band. And so then Omar really basically demanded that I do a trio record. He's like, you have to do it in your name. We can't do the Trio of Oz. You have to do it in your name.
When you were recording the project, because it took a while, what were some of the things that you wanted to document this time? Because, 10 years ago, you were playing and composing differently than you are now. And a lot has gone on in 10 years. The world shut down, crazy politics in the world, people get sick. Things have changed. How have you changed on your piano side, and how have you changed on your composing side?
I think it became a little more critical to write, to do my best and really stand up and not get influenced by other people. And my friend Eugene Hawley, he's a critic and a thinker about jazz. And he said, look, you have to stand you have to stand in the way that you see your own music, and don't let anyone interfere in making your own music, And Wayne Shorter said, find standalone spirit. So between those two things, it just became time to stand alone, just in terms of being free to make my own statement, because I came up in the tradition, as I was mentioning in this concert, that tradition was very, very strict in a way. I studied with Joanne B, Fred Hirsch, Tom McKinley, Richie Byrack, John Hicks, and really serious artists that disciplined us in a certain way. And then I played with musicians like Ron Carter, Lenny White, Victor Bailey, Mike Mainieri, Steps Ahead, Wayne Shorter, those guys that all played with Miles, and we were trained to be sharpshooters, and you couldn't deviate from that path of it's got to swing, it's got to have these elements, and I uphold the tradition of black music. I have, so it's really complicated to find my own voice in there, because it's I don't want to disrespect what I know to be jazz, which is swinging, playing time, having a great feel, but then sometimes breaking apart things. And I think Wayne maybe did it more in his later years, where he incorporated opera, classical. I think that's where Wayne and I started together, in terms of that. And I had to learn, I talked to Herbie about this, the feel, really getting into that part of my playing. And as a person, learning what black music is. That took a lot of years to be able to play time, hard time, swinging, bebop to modern jazz, and just have the energy that includes the reason people play that music. The suffering, the history, the joy, the pain, respecting all of that as semi an outsider. I'm not a black person, so that influences I don't want to step on toes. I don't want to say I'm something I'm not, or that I suffered in a way I did not, So I've become more knowledgeable recently. I have 4 black stepchildren, so they've schooled me a lot about what it means to be black, what it feels to be black, and that has informed my music. That really took me to a different place, I think, in my heart, it made me almost more individual. Like, I would be like, well, all right, well, I wrote a song called What I Fear. You know, I fear that we don't work together as a planet. You know, I fear that my stepkids won't love me. You know, I fear a lot of shit, right? And people fear so many things and they don't even talk about it. So I wrote a song about that. And that, I think we go through that with the audience. You know, we played it in Greece. They have financial fears. You know, Italy, they had different fears, you know, romantic fears. Geneva, they have fear of not expressing themselves. You know what I mean? All different people have different fears. So I think through music we can bring things to them. So that was a process. The fear of people I love dying during COVID. You know, God, we lost so many.
Yeah, we lost some heavyweights.
We lost some heavy musicians.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a fact. That's going to continue. You know, it's maybe not from COVID, but people we love are going to die.
It's inevitable. It's a process of life that we cannot escape. You can be the healthiest person in the world, or you can be the person that has diabetes or has cancer. It's a process of life that people are afraid to embrace.
Yeah.
With COVID, I noticed that once the world shut down, people had time to reflect. People shedded.
Yeah.
People didn't shed. During COVID, people had a very different perspective on how they were going to come back. Did you and Omar know how you were going to come back once this all dissipated?
Oh my God. I think because we both started young. Like, I started playing piano when I was 6, and he started when he was around, like, same age, right? So we've been working. He's been working since he was 10 in his father's band. His father played with Duke Ellington, right?
Right.
So I've been working since I was 15. My mom was an opera singer, and, like, she just, you know, pushed me. So they were like, you need to get a job, you know, and my job was playing jazz from then, you know. So we rested during COVID. And in some ways I regret it because kids were out there doing videos, and I felt like I didn't want to give away music for free. But that was a mistake because we lost the war with that. You know, it is free now, and you have to be a content creator, and I want to keep playing, so I'm going to do whatever it takes. I didn't know what it was going to take to get back in the game. And it was much harder than I thought it was going to be, by the way, because of what you noted, where I didn't do a record in my name since 2010. And I just didn't realize that was important, because my masters, my mentors, they took time. You know, you notice there was like a break. Herbie would take a break between records. Even Peter Gabriel, like 7 years between records. Wayne Shorter, 7 years, because he needed the time to write before he did High Life. You know, that's why he had a stack of music for me to play. All that, you know.
It's funny you say that, because I look at guys like Pat Metheny, I look at guys like Herbie, and even, God rest his soul, Wayne. A lot of their life was on the road. Mm-hmm. And in between time, you know, the break, and then, you know, I understand the breakup of the Pat Metheny group. Lyle was tired of traveling.
Yeah, he was.
He was tired of traveling. It was the burnout. And when you do something for so long, you do want to burn out. And the back end of Lyle, he was an accomplished billiards player.
I didn't know that part.
Yes.
What?
Yes, he played billiards. And he was a child prodigy anyway. He was a genius. But Wayne had all of this incredible music that we're still going to be playing 300 years from now.
Yeah.
He's in the echelon of Duke Ellington. He's in the echelon of Cole Porter. He is in this world where now the music he left us is now for us to interpret. And you working with him, what does he mean to you now as a musician, and what do you think he means to the world as a musician?
Wow. Well, there's, like you said, there's a lot of music left to be studied. Like breaking down high life into the bare bones will be really educational to people. I think they'll be very surprised to find out it's like Nefertiti, but for 1,000 bars of Nefertiti. That's, it sounds beautiful and melodic, but it's like hard to play, really hard to play. So, and this, so he has influenced my writing for so many years now, since I worked with him, that I think for me, what I'm trying to do is make sure that I process that experience over and over and over in my writing. And again, he said, develop standalone spirit. And I'm only just, in a way, doing that because I always leaned on the lineage and my mentors. And I took it really serious, being ready. And so now it's really about processing and writing my best music that I can. But for other people that didn't get to play with him, and also presenting his music and maybe explaining some things about it too, for people to understand, that he used, why he wrote that chord to that chord. Because when I was in the room with him while he was writing, and I was programming the synth orchestra, but he would say, "Oh, look at this," and I'd be like, "Oh God," he'd be like, "Which one do you like better?" And he would say, "This one is a question. This one I've answered the question." He really was thinking about the story.
He was really like the Zen. He really was like the higher, what do you call it? The Cardinal Bishop of how music is supposed to be played.
Yeah. And that's just the writing. Because then when we would go on tour, and all the kids in the band who have ever played with him also know that he had a special way to teach each person that was of what they would need to work on, or what he needed from us, and like for me, I think it was so cool. It was so cool because he was just always trying to get me to be just as strong as I could be, so that I would just be giving him like that feedback. And without feeling like he's the master, I'm the disciple. I think that he, pretty much with all of us, because everyone's scared. Danilo told me he was scared. We were all scared.
Yeah.
So, like, what we had to do was just, you have to find like an inner spirit where maybe another lifetime where you, Wayne, me, we were all like just more equal. But he came to this life to help us become greater musicians.
Yeah.
And also people. He could see each kid, like I say kids because we were kids. Each kid, he could see what they needed to develop as a person.
And that's right. That last quartet of his, Danilo, Brian, and John, they, and I talked to John about it when he passed away. We sat down and talked about that. He was like, don't be afraid to do the unexpected. And I think a lot of his songs and a lot of music, that Schizophrenia, I'm just now revisiting that record.
Wow, yeah.
It's a crazy album.
Yeah.
It is a crazy record. The stuff that he did with Milton Nascimento, the Native Dancer record, he was in a different phase of his life, and you hear it musically. And I think that's where you are right now. You hear things differently now at 60-something as opposed to you heard something at 30-something.
Yeah.
Is it harder or is it easier?
Oh, man. Well, what makes me different now is I love the interaction. Like, what really lights me up is like, how am I going to talk to Omar and John tonight with this band that we've had for 10 years? So I'm going for stuff musically, like technical stuff, or writing changes that are hard, that I'm like, why did I write this? This is hard, or, trying to honor my mentors or try to fly. And I hear like okay, so the story is more important to me too. And am I really, Wayne used to say, you can make the audience better at what they do. Like if they're a doctor, you can make them a better doctor. If they're like, you know, a mechanic, you can make them a better mechanic. If in my intent, I'm reaching high. Like, because we have a song called, like I said, What I Fear. We have Sensual, where I'm just trying to invite the audience to fall in love first with themselves, you know, and just like get into what's great about them, each individual person. Like, and then how can they be excellent at what they do? And then how can they fall in love with someone else and have love as an action? Like these kind of, if I'm really expressing through and bringing some fire to, whether like, what is that? Then I think maybe that's like that's a good thing. Then we have another song called What About the Kids? And that one's because it's heartbreaking to see them laden with student loan debt, really high interest rates. They can't, you know, like it's hard to get paid enough to get that down payment for their house. And then they're getting married later because they want to have kids. And, you know, so we're left with like a generation that needs help. So I'm like, let's have those billionaires fund the arts. You know, we really need those kids that are spending $200,000 to go to music school to get a return, you know, and then to support us as the older mentors. We need to have good gigs to hire those kids, you know, that, right? Because then we can hire them and they can thrive, and we know we're contributing to that house that they're going to get.
started and where you're at right now. I interviewed Joanne B, and her being a woman at the time that she came out, I mean, Stan Getz, Joe Henderson, her chops had to be above and beyond, and she got better every musician gets better when they play with the masters. It's part of the passing of the baton.
Or Blakey.
Yeah. I mean, Joanne is and she's such a humble and very beautiful person.
Oh my God, she's amazing.
What was it that Joanne introduced you to as far as your playing style or how you interpreted and heard the music?
Man. Okay, so like I went to, New York was different back in the day. Like you'd go see Joanne at Sweet, or I forget what it was called right now.
Bradley's? Sweet Basil?
No, Sweet Basil you might see like Gil Evans the same night. And then you'd go to Fat Tuesdays, see Joanne, and then maybe McCoy was also playing the same night. They were like trading sets. And then like you'd go to the Vanguard and it would be like Elvin Jones, Dave Liebman, Steve Grossman, you know, it would be like, and Mulgrew Miller, it would be like some crazy band. And then, you know what, you see what I'm getting at. And then 7th Avenue South would have the Brecker Brothers. So they'd be playing, and they would just be going off. And then the Bottom Line would have like, I don't know, Dave Sanborn. So every single club would be crazy, you know, so high level stuff in every club of all genres. So when I saw Joanne, I saw her at Sweet Basil, Fat Tuesdays with Joanne, and then I saw her at Bradley's, and so that was just, it blew my mind. And I also saw Fred Hirsch at Bradley's, so I would just talk to them because we were like sitting as close as I was to them, because my dad and I would always get the first table, you know, right by the piano, and we would just go crazy. Tommy Flanagan, so many, like McCoy, you could see all those guys. You could see all the masters.
What was Joanne like as far as a teacher and mentor?
Man, so that's how I got excited to go see her, right? So I went up to her and I go, Joanne, can I take a lesson from you? And she was like, yeah, okay. And I was like, whoa. So I went, and my dad drove me. She lived on 17th Street. And I went to her house, and I just was like in a magical world. She had a loft on 17th Street. I was like, yes, I'm inside a loft in New York. This is amazing. And she just, man, she's like, all right, I need you to transcribe some things. So I transcribed Chick Corea on Stabs first. I transcribed her on Keyed In. And I think I was doing Herbie, I forget which Herbie solo, I think it was If I Were a Bell, and Bill Evans on Autumn Leaves, you know, all those kind of, and so the lesson was basically play the solo, and then she would tell me stuff about my playing. But you know, the thing about Joanne was that she was performance oriented, so she knew that for me to like get it together, she invited me to sit in at Bradley's. Yeah.
The only way you're gonna learn is when you're on the bandstand.
So she, you know, that was unbelievable. Like I was like 15, so you know, I hadn't been playing jazz long. So I go and I did sit in with Eddie Gomez. She was really proud of me.
Wow.
She was happy. She was pleased. She didn't kick me out of her studio, but she did tell me, you're going to need to be 3 times as good as the guys, and you're going to need to, you know, be cool. You need to be cool.
But you already cool.
But I was so little, you know, like she was just like, you know, be stable, you know, don't freak out.
Right.
Because there's a lot of shit that happens on the road. As a woman, you might just be like, what is happening here? I don't understand. So she just, I don't know, she set me up for success by, I just always knew I had a big sister there, like where she would be watching.
She's still around too.
She's still around.
She's still around.
She takes the young women in. She kicks their butts. Like she was not like particularly like gentle on you either. She'd be like, sorry, no, do that again. you would have to kill it.
But Rachel, the music's not kind anyway. You can up there. I saw you up there playing, and this music is rough and gruff. It's not for the weak-minded. People, even people who are just casual listeners, like, I can't get into it. But the cats that are into it can get into it.
Yeah.
McCoy he had a very different approach with that left hand, almost percussive.
Yeah.
And then you got guys like Hank Jones, who could play the hell out of a ballad.
Yeah.
Less is more with him.
It's like, and that you said, where am I at now? I'm right now, to be honest, I really want to like work on having more freedom with my left hand, where it does what I tell it all the time. Because I used to have that when I was a kid, because I was practicing a lot more. But now I'm finding, that would be fun, to comp with my right hand and really solo with my left hand alone. Or, just be able to support John, and then, there's just, and Omar has endless technique. It's endless. Like, he'll go into fifth, and, I got to be able to fly. And then sometimes I write chord changes that are very hard. They don't have common tones. Like, they're non-functional. So there's some of them I'm still working on.
It's interesting you say that, because I always look at piano players as the timekeepers of the band. Not the drummer, but they are the ones that have to either keep it fast or they have to keep it slow. And they have to keep an equilibrium of the whole band. And you look at that great Miles band. Herbie was really kind of the peacekeeper of everybody. Yeah. Are you doing that with your trio?
I would say John's the peacekeeper. But I'm trying to, like, Omar has, I write solo sections for Omar. Some are in 7, some are in 11, some are in 4/4. But I like to write chords for him to blow over that are maybe an odd time. And so during those times, we got to hold it down for him, or we have a vamp, and it just, and yeah, in those moments, me and John are just letting him tell that story, because he's thunder. He can try all of his stuff that he can magically create, and it's that emotion, but also he's thunder.
And I see Omar too. He turns it up a notch too.
Yeah.
Especially the last song you guys play. I'm like, wow. I mean, what is it like being married to Omar and being equal as musicians, partners, and also how does it work? How do you guys turn the music off, turn the relationship love on? How do you turn the music on? How does it work? Because you guys been together for a long time.
We lucked out in finding each other, and I think I've loved him my whole life, because when I saw Weather Report, the first Weather Report album, I just turned it over and I looked at the personnel and I saw Omar Hakim, and I'm like, wow, it just, the name vibrated for me, and I'm like, I have to find him. And then, like, when I first met him, he had like a glow, and we were with different people, and it took a while to get it together, and luckily a bit later in life we got together, and I've been blessed, because just spiritually is the right man for me, because music is love and love is music. Yeah. I'd say the business part we learn, because the business can stress you out. And I'm a Capricorn, so, I'm kind of aggravating. Like, I like to always think about business, and we could do this, and we need to tour right now, tonight, and he's like an Aquarius. So he's like, no, I'm not going to go for that. We have to do this. We have to investigate. And his thing is like, we have all the tools we need to create at the highest level, and we have everything that we need to, we have to be grateful up front, and the joys in the process. He's always like, the joys in the process. Yeah. And I had to kind of learn that, because I was so goal-oriented.
And, he went from Weather Report to Sting.
Yeah.
And he went
to Bowie.
Bowie. And then just all the records that he's been on too, it kind of trained him to be. It trained him to be part of a unit without being part of a unit, which has to be hard because you're playing somebody else's music, but also you have to give in too freely to make that person better. Like playing for a Bowie, I can't even fathom what it would be like playing with David Bowie. Sting's different because Sting comes from jazz, he comes from reggae, but Bowie is like a visionary.
Yeah. So when you play with Bowie, I think it just brought out a different thing in Omar.
Yeah.
Like it brought out something that he really wanted, brought out. And the same like when he plays rock, he just really loves that too.
Yeah.
But he loves it like he'll spend a day compiling the kit for the Foo Fighters tribute to honor Taylor Hawkins. He spent that was a week compiling that kit. It had special stands. They were curved stands. He got the drums so that he wanted to honor Taylor. Really perfect, beautiful maple gum drums for rock because Taylor liked premieres. But Omar's like, I can't play premieres, but I want to play that. I want to play that tone. And he made the setup like Dave's and Taylor's. Like he changed his tom configuration so that he could play that music with that configuration. He learned every song in the book with his total heart. And then when we went to do this gig, little different, gig, same thing. Like that kit that he played tonight, it was his first snare drum that his dad gave him. Dad and mom gave him when he was 8.
Wow.
So he valued that so much. He was like, I want to have that sound.
understand that you were roommates in college with a young lady from Detroit by the name of Regina Carter. I've interviewed Regina here on the Pace Report, and her Detroit ties are very, very strong.
Yeah.
And she's the one that kind of opened you up to listening to other forms of music and introducing you to another world of musicians. Tell me about Regina.
How did you know?
Listen, I do my research on my artists.
She did. I mean, yeah, her and Bill Banfield and Najee, there was this contingency at NEC that maybe had she not been my roommate, I would have never met those guys from Detroit. And, I just would have been like in this other world, but because of her, they brought me in and we like had a great time. I mean, she definitely was irritated at my science experiments in the room because I would leave like a can of beans in there for like weeks because I didn't really, I was really into practicing.
Really?
Yeah, I practiced like 8 hours or more like 12 hours a day at NEC. So she helped me with that though. She would like bring me food because as a pianist, you couldn't really, you had to stay in the room. You couldn't leave or you'd lose the piano. But she had the dorm room to herself, which probably she liked. And then she was a blessing, man. Knowing her, she was a beautiful person. So she introduced me to the Detroit cats, and then they were like, all right, you need to play Rhodes. And I was like, Rhodes? What the hell is that? They're like, yeah, here, we need to play Stevie Wonder. And I was like, we need to play Marvin Gaye.
Time out. You're in the Miles Davis, Miles Smiles, and you didn't get to In a Silent Way by Miles and Bitches Brew when the...
That I did, but it seemed really different from, like, I didn't get to play Stevie Wonder, the real Stevie Wonder. I just didn't know about it, like, as deep as, like, Najee taught me about Jamaica funk. Regina she had been playing in what was the name of that band? She played the funk in Detroit, man. Lyman Woodard. She was playing.
Steps Ahead? No. There was a group that she was in.
Oh, Straight Ahead.
Straight Ahead.
I was in Steps Ahead.
You were in Steps Ahead, right.
But she was in Straight Ahead, but that was after.
Right.
But she played with Jerry Allen, so she had played some organ trio. So she knew, like, funk, and she was explaining, or just leading me to that music, and Bill Banfield, too. So we played fusion.
That's good.
Yeah, it was great. It was, actually, it made my life so much better because then I got a bunch of keyboards. I got my keyboard rig together. I played at Riles. I had a fusion band, and that's how I could, just walk right into Steps Ahead. I was already prepared,
Michael.
Her.
Well, that's true, because Regina, too, she was trained in school by the great Marcus Belgrave, God rest his soul.
Oh, wow.
And Marcus gave the world James Carter, Regina Carter, Kenny Garrett, Kareem Wiggins.
Was this in Detroit?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yes.
Because she had...
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ah.
Marcus was really the light of the up-and-coming musicians. He really had his hands on all of those musicians. And Regina really solidified what Marcus and what the city of Detroit is about. Detroit, you got to play a little funky.
Yeah.
It's not like Philadelphia. It's not like Chicago. It's not like New Orleans. It has its own kaboom boom. And we see that. The brothers Jones, Elvin, Thad, and Hank. There's a brutalness in how they play, and I think it's because of the cold in the wintertime. And Regina has really set herself apart and stayed in her own lane like you have. Being a woman playing this music, what are some of the things that you tell other female jazz musicians or musicians in general to do as far as, one, keeping the tradition of Black American music alive, and two, playing the music?
Well, yeah, I think that you really have to go into the roots, and you really have to go into the roots of the music and the history of the music. And it's interesting you mentioned this about Detroit, because, I mean, New York is so, it's like we're connected though, New York and Detroit, because we have like that mad energy, you know, and we have the aggression, and it's freezing here also, and you can't even like afford to eat half the time, you know, especially when you're young, so you're going through all the changes. So when I got with her and combined my weird chromatic harmony with like more groove, I think that set me up to be like different, and also to express myself better. Like now, believe it or not, I'm getting really into Billy Preston, and you know, I have a D6. My friend gave me a D6 clavinet to shed on, and with a wah-wah pedal. So I never played a clav before. And now, because Omar has like a band where such things are going to be required, and we really are digging it. And the D6 is giving me a whole new feel. Like,
really?
You know, with Sly, Parliament, I was always into them, but I never really felt a clavinet. And once
Stevie was
I'll be shedding all of that.
Who else was really big on the clavinet? Chris Jasper from the Isley Brothers.
Oh, cool. Chris Jasper.
Yes, and also Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Yeah, he played the clavinet a bit too. I mean,
interesting.
That was that instrument alone in the 70s was really very important to popular music at the time.
Absolutely.
Because it wasn't as confining as an organ, and it wasn't as confining as a piano. It was a smaller scale version of both of them to combine, and it was funky.
Man, it's just funky, like when you touch it, and then it's like you get to be the guitar player. So like if I go like, I gotta kind of flatten my hand, it's like different technique.
Yeah.
It's like, it's more loose. Like that's where you get a really good sound. Whereas if you do that on the piano, you won't get a good tone. So I'm learning new things is really, you know, critical. And, you know, also I just think like thinking about the people that played the music, really connecting with the people and what the suffering that happened, and telling, like, if you're going to pass along jazz, don't just make it like, oh, play these scales. You have to talk about the civil rights movement. Martin Luther King, it's Martin Luther King Day. Omar and I coming into town today were just recognizing he got shot by a racist white man in the face for I Have a Dream, trying to bring us together. That's really profound, and we have to accept. And Whitten told me this. He said, you know, I grew up in the segregated South, and he and I are the same-ish age, and I was like, wait, I did not know that. I did not know, because I'm from New York. I'm from this area. We were really beyond that. My mom and dad were advanced maybe, but they were like, oh, if you don't even think the N-word, and if you know anyone who says that word, get away from them because they're low class. You know, my parents told off our neighbors because I brought Regina and like my black boyfriend home. They told up, the neighbor said something. My parents said, never talk to me again. That's what my mom said. My mom said, and don't step into our yard either. You're done. She never talked to them again. Because she was like, they're low class. We don't talk to them. So that's how I was raised. But I didn't know until I read a book called The Half Has Never Been Told. And that book like I was telling you, this is hard shit to learn. Sorry.
Yeah.
But it's hard to learn when, you know, you grew up thinking, like, because I kind of thought that we were cool, right? But Lynn Fidmont, you know, she told me, no, it's not cool. There's shit going on every day that you don't see because you're white. And I was like, whoa, did not know this.
And that's what COVID did. And that was one of the things that I have said before COVID. We have to unlearn the things that we were taught. And that was a wake-up call to
really was.
a lot of white folk.
Yeah.
And it was a wake-up call to a lot of black folk, too. It was like, oh, Juneteenth. I knew about Juneteenth since I was about 10 years old.
Yeah.
My question is, why did the Europeans or the Eurocentric education system omit that from Black History Month? And there's a lot that has to be said for that because of what you said. It's how you go about learning yourself.
Yeah.
And it's very important.
Oh man, yeah. And it's not really fun either. If you're white, you shouldn't have fun doing that. You should really be, whoa. You should be like, man, people have gone through shit that's very heartbreaking, unfair, and trying to get a mortgage today. If you're black, it's not the same. And like nobody will say it. They won't say it, but it's not the same. And like the Floyd thing, you know, like someone, for a cop to put his knee on someone's carotid artery and kill them, we watched it, and that was a wake-up call. So yeah, this record, yeah.
It's powerful. Music speaks to, and it calms the savage beast too. That's what music does.
Yeah, we need to bring each other together.
Yeah.
And we have to talk about this stuff in smart ways, and we have to bring our economic system to work for everybody, you know? And that, I think, that would be a step in the right direction that we could do with this music, you know?
Jim, again, has done a fantastic job. This is the second year of the Piano Jazz Festival. And you're sitting at a piano that is very, 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 very obscure to the music world. I want you to tell everybody the piano that you're playing and why this piano is very different than like a Steinway or a Yamaha or some of the other pianos out there.
That's so interesting. I started as a Steinway artist, and I played Bill Evans' Steinway B on my first record. That was a beautiful piano. It was a Hamburg Steinway. So Hamburg Steinway has beautiful soft bell tones, and it's a gorgeous piano. It's partially why he sounds the way he does, with a soft touch. So I was able to get that touch. I would say that it was harder to get aggressive sounds on it, which was kind of interesting. So my first earlier records, I don't know, it was hard work to get aggressive. But it was, I think I have some songs that have it, but definitely Steinway makes you work for that, the. Then Yamaha, almost the opposite. A Yamaha, I was a Yamaha artist for many years. And so I played all the pianos at Concert and Artists. They let me practice there. Because I still didn't own my own really good piano. So I played 9-foot Yamahas from the S Factory. And those are great pianos. They also had MIDI.
Bob James, I believe, plays a Yamaha.
Yeah.
He's been a Yamaha pianist for a while.
Yeah. Yamaha, you kind of can go either way. They can, if you control them a certain way, they can sound classy and classical like a Steinway, but also they have contemporary sound, because they have, they're voiced usually with a lot of high end, and they don't have a lot of phasing in the middle. They're cleaner than a Steinway. The Steinway has phasing, and that's what makes it have a darker color, whereas a Yamaha, it's clean. And some people would be like a C7 is too clean. But it gives Chick that kind of cleanliness, and, it's cool.
Right.
Whereas McCoy, I think he plays Bosendorfer mostly, so that's darker,
Well, because of how he plays.
Yeah, he got I love the build-up he gets, that just like, wow. And then Keith Jarrett, sort of in the middle, he uses the lighter part of the Bosendorfer. So for me, when I heard Herbie call me, and he's like, Rich, you got to check out, I just got a new Fazioli, you need to go check it out. Jim Luce has them. He has a few, so go check it out right now. And I was like, what? What is he saying? I'm like, how could there be a new piano that can be better than a Steinway D or something? It's impossible. So I just kind of chilled. I was like, come on, Herbie, no way. So I ignored it for a few days. But then in the middle of the night on the third day, I was like, I better go check it out. Because Herbie called me, and he doesn't usually randomly call me about if it wasn't important.
Right.
So I go over there, and I was like, I played it, and I was like, oh no. I was like, Jim, how am I going to get this? How am I going to get one? And he's like, we can give it to you for a reasonable price. We'll give you an artist endorsement. And I'm like, wow, really? And I'm like, all right, I got to get the money. It took me I think 6 years to get the money. And
was it worth it?
Oh my God, yeah, it was worth it. Because I got an F228, which is, they wanted me to get the 278, which is the size that I just played, but I really loved, for me, the left hand of the 228, because it's super clear. It's got, I don't know, I can control that piano, it's so gorgeous. I have one at home. That's what we recorded the new record on, and we're freaking out. It's just like you're just freaking out every day when you hear it. You just can't even believe it. So, I still can't believe that it's in my house. So, and the colors are infinite. And Kenny Warner talked about it when you hit the low end. It's imagine if when you opened your refrigerator, it made that sound. And you close it, it's like, wah. So, I learned to kind of get that color out of it, really heavy color. You can get pointed colors out of the, from middle C up. You can articulate like so clean. The middle sounds like it's sort of like butter. The low end screams and roars. It's like roar, like McCoy. You can get roaring, as you saw tonight. So like that's why I was kind of messing with it tonight, because like I know Fazioli's very well, so I knew that it would be fun to just hit the low end and let it ring, and then do triple piano. Like that's the thing. The dynamic range and control from the action is incredible. So, and then it's perfectly, like there's no phasing whatsoever. Like on this 9-footer, there's no, he tuned the harp. Paolo told me that he redesigned the harp so that it would be perfectly EQ'd. And this 9-footer is perfectly EQ'd. It's a new baby. Okay, so she's a little bit like a baby. She only has one, her cry is very clear. She's very clear, that piano. And I had trouble, I was trying to get her, I had to delicately mess with her to be like, okay, I want you to be triple soft, So I had to work with her a little bit just on that, because she's fierce. That is a fierce piano.
Are they more in the classical world, or are they now segueing into the jazz world?
I think the Chinese pianists, like the kids, they love it. They love it because they are fast. Fazioli's fast piano. You are fire with a Fazioli. And so probably that's why me and Herbie like it, because you're fire.
Right.
You can freaking fly and have the aggression and then have the sensitivity. So they are breaking into jazz. It's a pricey piano, very pricey. It's handmade. I think he makes like what Jim said, $300 a year. It takes 3 years to make one.
So how long did it take you to get your piano?
When I ordered it took like almost a year to make it.
Wow.
And he gave me a choice between a couple, but I was like, just send me the one you think is the one. And when it came, it was just it was spiritual, man, because I didn't have a piano. I never could afford one, actually. So
it was time for you to buy one.
Yeah, and the artist endorsement made it possible. We still had to pay, some costs. And it's like it'll take your breath away, especially if you're like a pianist, sort of like me, that I come from classical, where I want the dynamic range. I have control. Like I think I have a pretty good touch. I can play a dog and make it sound good. I think, because it's in your hands. That butter. That thing they're scary good. Like it's like a machine that you're just like, I can't believe I could. It's like when Regina played the Stradivarius, she was freaking out because it's like everything you work for you can play it all. But sometimes it's like almost too clean, and you're like, oh, woo.
Rachel Z, what does Black American music mean to you?
I'm glad that it's called Black American music. It's all, most music is Black American music. Rock and roll is Black American music. Sorry, guys. Blues. Black American music. Jazz. Black American music. I guess we European origin people got in with the harmony. We got a little harmony in, but the rhythm, the flow, the improvisation, maybe they combined some Debussy, Herbie would say he did, and Stravinsky, that's the best we did. But without the foundation of the blues, Scott Joplin, I don't know, the New Orleans situation. Ragtime.
Yeah.
Scott Joplin.
It's all American. It's all basically American music.
Yeah. But it's fascinating to deal with the fact that I think calling it Black American music is just fine with me. Because I want to acknowledge the roots. I was always really, really, I don't know, like it seemed, because I came from classical. I grew up with classical. And I was like, why would you pretend that it's not? If you want to pretend that jazz is not Black music, why would you do that? What are you trying not to acknowledge? You need to acknowledge. That's how I feel about it. At NEC, they called it the African American Jazz Studies. I think they even called it African American Music Studies Department. So I thought that was cool because that was Gunther Schuller. Gunther Schuller knew why you need to make it special.
That'll do it again for this very special edition of the Pace Report. I'm Brian Pace, reporting from this year's second New York City Jazz Piano Festival, live at Clava House. I'd like to personally thank the incomparable Rachel Z for her time. Make sure you support her upcoming record, which is coming out in March, as well as her upcoming tour. For more information on Rachel's upcoming music, please visit her online at rachelzmusic.com, as well as follow her on social media by way of Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Also, I'd like to personally give out some mad shout-outs and thank yous. Mr. Jim Luce, the curator of the second New York City Jazz Piano Festival, as well as the staff and management at Clava House. Also, I'd like to personally thank Mr. Charles Carini with Charles Carini Presents, who also did a fantastic job. As always, people, I can't stress this more than enough. Please like, share, and subscribe to my videos on YouTube and Vimeo, as well as leave comments. And also follow me on social media by way of Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Until next time, remember, if it's in the groove, it'll make you move. Till next time, peace.